the LaxFactor podcast.
What is up, college lacrosse fans? You are watching episode number 302 of the LaxFactor podcast. I'm your host, Ted Hoost. Today, we're going to dive into a bunch of the tournament, the conference tournament games. We're going to dive into who's in, who's out, and so on and so forth. Before I get into it, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, go to LaxFactor.com, get yourself some swag, share the crap out of the podcast with your friends. That is all I ask. And now let us dive into the Maryland and Ohio State game, mostly because it was the game that was most recently played, but it was also a great game. Now, both of these teams were already going to get a tournament bid. This just decided who gets the AQ, who's grabbing an at-large. Ohio State did manage to pick up their first Big Ten tournament championship and the AQ thanks to a monster day out of Big Tasty. He had 19 saves on the day. A legion of 10 dudes put up at least 1 point to help Caleb Fyock, a.k.a. Big Tasty, a.k.a. my family and my wife were getting annoyed at hearing how many times they called him Big Tasty in the telecast last night. So it was almost as if Ohio State and their entire team willed themselves to win this game, which I guess is how it always happens if you win a lacrosse game. Buckeyes, they jump out to a 7-1 lead. And at any point when Maryland tried to claw back into this one, OSU answered, and I mean every single time here. Maryland was never able to put together a run of more than 2 goals all game long. If we see here, 5-0 to open the game, and then 7-1 to get that thing really started. Maryland scores 2 goals. Ohio State answers. Maryland scores 2 more. Ohio State goes on a 3-goal run. So you can see here it was really just a day of it started out a day of runs for Ohio State, and then it turned into a day of silencing runs for Maryland through the rest of it. Cullen Brown, he was key here in this one here in shutting down Danny Kelly. Danny Kelly was huge in Maryland's semifinal win. Kelly, a single goal off 4 shots. It was Maryland's first goal of the game. He never scored again the rest of the game. Brown forced 2 turnovers, picked up 4 GBs. Someone badly wants to be a numbered All-American, and he made a case here, not just over the course of the season, but definitely in this game. Garrett Haas put up a hat trick and a dish behind him. Griffin Turner, Alex Mariner, Liam White, and Jack McKenna all put up 2 goals. Total team effort offensively out of Ohio State. Gannon Matthews lost 3 teeth early in this game. I forget who hit him. Somebody hit him. He loses 3 teeth, and he kept playing. I think he went 1-1 on the day. Big Tasty was a wall over the course of the fourth quarter here. This one I do want to show you. If we look at the save totals here, Big Tasty going into the final quarter, not a bad game here. He had 9 saves going into that fourth quarter. He makes 10 stops to Maryland's 2 goals over the course of the fourth as Maryland tried to claw back into this one. He would not let them. Logan McNaney uncharacteristically gives up, how many goals did he give up on the day? 14 to just 10 saves. He only has 1 save over that fourth quarter to Caleb Fyock's 10, which is just an absolutely insane stat there. So that's legendary. And to do that, his final, it's not the regular season, but, to win Ohio State their first Big Ten championship, to have the season that Fyock, a.k.a. Big Tasty. Now I'm going to start calling my cat Big Tasty. We got a chubby cat. We call her the Fatso. We have all sorts of names for her, but yeah, we're going to start calling her Big Tasty. At least I am, and everyone else in my household is going to chirp the shit out of me. But legendary game for him. Huge win here. Ohio State, they were, like I said, they were already in the tournament, but now they get the automatic qualifier, and for once, Maryland has to eat one of those at-large bids. So credit to Ohio State. What a season here. They lose to Utah. Everybody thinks they're going to be, down. They don't have the big names that they had previous seasons here. They hadn't been able to use the transfer portal like a lot of teams in the Big Ten and the ACC had to bolster that roster, and they just put it all together here through this season. Next one we have to talk about is the game that I want to talk about the most here. FYI, I recorded and got this deep and then had to restart because I just butchered the Syracuse segment. So let's see if I can do this more effectively here this time and get through it. And yes, you are seeing this correctly. It is 11:06 in the AM, and I am drinking a beer pre-gaming for the Syracuse Duke ACC final that's going to kick off here. Probably while you're watching this. Hopefully you're not watching this and you're watching Duke and Syracuse play. But either way, okay. Syracuse, they had a win and you're in situation on their hands going into the ACC semifinal against Notre Dame. The other three teams in the tournament had already gotten in, and it took Syracuse gutting out a 14-12 win over Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's dominated them in recent years, so Syracuse needed this to punch their ticket and become a lock for an at-large bid at this stage. Now, this game went down, I think, similar to the Maryland and Ohio State game in the sense that every time Notre Dame tried to fight back to make a go of winning, Syracuse was there to knock them down a peg. Notre Dame did manage to tie things up at fours at this stage right here, but then Owen Hilt started a 4-goal run. Mullen, Peyton Anderson, and Sam English all scored, and that happened quickly. Here, Notre Dame, you see 4-4 with 9:34 left in the second. Owen Hilt scores with 8:03 left in the second, and then just a minute and a half later, it goes from 4 up to 8-4 Syracuse. Yes, Notre Dame clawed back in again. Devin McClain got them back to within a goal at 8-7, but then Syracuse goes on a 4-1 run, and that pretty much iced it after that. Greg Elijah Brown scoring man-up goals here, hopping in the game. Anytime you see him in the scoring column like that, it's generally going to be in a man-up situation, or at least after a man-up situation has expired. So that was good to see. Spallina and Hiltz, they anchored the offense, but I credit this win with how well Michael Leo, Luke Roa, and Sam English forced Notre Dame into slides and then immediately bumped the ball to the next man. Over the course of Syracuse's 3-game losing streak, I felt like the offense, they were struggling to win matchups, and that got them in a bad habit of forcing some of those dodges. And I felt like Leo, Roa, and English all fell victim to that. I think Roa and Leo struggled more over that stretch. That's just a testament to Sam English being like a 50-year-old super senior here at this point, just a seasoned veteran. But I felt like that the midfield units, both midfield units though, not just that first unit, but even the second line, I felt like they did a great job getting Peyton Anderson, getting Thompson back on attack. I wasn't sure. I really liked how Hiltz, Anderson, and Spallina were playing, and I thought maybe you'd see them bump Thompson to midfield, putting him back down at attack, but getting Anderson into the game to, have him continue to dodge and be a presence. I felt like that was important in this win. And as we see how the point totals pan out here, Peyton Anderson, 1 goal off just 2 shots, but at least he didn't go away completely. So I felt like when the Syracuse offense is at its best, they are drawing a slide. They don't even need to draw a full slide. They can draw a half slide, bump the ball, and get that ball movement going. That's how they free guys up. If they're not drawing slides and winning matchups, they end up having to live by the seat of their pants and force a lot more shots, force a lot more feeds. So I felt like this game was them getting back to winning those matchups, or at least barely winning those matchups, but keeping the ball moving and letting the next guy down the line dodge. So I think that's great. Defensively, teams have started to figure out how to take out Jake Taylor. I'm just going to go back to the box score so you can look at that. Taking Jake Taylor out of games is huge. If you can keep him off the scoreboard, then you're likely going to be in the game, either because he isn't scoring a bunch of goals on you. But if he's not scoring goals on you, what does that mean? That generally means you're not having to play team defense. You're not being forced into slides, because that's generally how he gets open. So Syracuse has done a good job in both games against Taylor, keeping him quiet, winning one-on-one matchups, not getting roasted all over the field by the brothers Kavanaugh. Thank God there's only one Kavanaugh now. He was 2-1 on the day off 8 shots. So that was good. So I think Syracuse played well defensively, albeit I think Jimmy McCool deserves a ton of credit as well. 20 saves, just 12 goals against, and like Big Tasty, 9 of McCool's saves came in the fourth quarter when Notre Dame was knocking on the door out of desperation. 11 saves going into that quarter, 9 during that quarter. That's how you spell success as a first-year starter. And he's gotten more and more comfortable as the season has worn on, to the point that he's now one of the best goalies in the country. I don't think anyone questions that. Syracuse, they were, like I said, they were probably going to get an at-large, even with a loss on Friday. But this win books their ticket, flips their fortune, is now Notre Dame's looking at being, one of the last 2 teams in via at-large bid. But either way, both teams are in. Let's move on now to the CAA final. It was Drexel and Towson. Now, Towson needed an OT win over Hofstra to get to the CAA finals. Bodie Maurer stuck that game winner. And then they take down Drexel to punch their ticket, or book their ticket to the NCAA tournament. Now, Towson's recent success has actually helped Syracuse and their cause a little bit, as their rise from the depths Said that weird. Back to a legit contender here and a national ranking. That's helped bolster the strength of schedules for anyone that's played them. So we were all happy to see Towson go on a rampage here. They lose 4 straight games to open the season. Then they take down UMBC. Then they lose to Virginia. And that's an absolute horror show to start the season. They start out a ranked team, a highly ranked team, and then they're looking at 1-5 heading into a matchup with Delaware, and as their entire season was hanging in the balance. What do? They end up winning that game over the Blue Hens, 19-18, an absolute shit show defensively out of both teams. But then they go on to win every game since. They're now winners of 10 games in a row, 11 of their last 12. Against Drexel on Saturday, they jump out to a 7-3 lead before Drexel woke up and gets back to within 9-8 with 14 minutes to play. Tigers string a 4-goal run together. They put the game out of reach, and the Tigers beat the Dragons. I think that's what Drexel is here. Yeah, Dragons. I can even see that. Mikey Weissar moving down to attack. That move was both brilliant and necessary for this team, and long term that has helped them. He goes 2-3 on the day. Ronan Fitzpatrick puts up 5 goals. Drexel just didn't have an answer for him. Joe Petro, Connor Spagnoli combined for 5 takeaways, 9 ground balls defensively for Towson, as they are the CAA's representative in the NCAA tournament. Richmond and High Point. High Point hung around early. Richmond does what Richmond does. They snuffed out all of the opposing team's hopes and dreams by playing incredible team defense, barely giving up any shots. Spiders held High Point to just 5 shots on goal over the entirety of that second half. That made Zach VQ's job very easy. He did not play well. 4 saves, 10 goals against, but when the other team can barely sniff a shot, it doesn't usually matter. It's not all that dramatic or pretty for Richmond offensively. Just a bunch of dudes banding together in a manner that makes you feel like they're kind of overachieving at times. But when they do that week in and week out, you start to realize this is just another very good Richmond lacrosse squad. Not one that I saw coming. I figured Richmond was going to be good this year. I did not expect for Richmond to maybe have one of their best teams in terms of contending for an actual title that they've had in forever and ever. Like, I'm not looking at Richmond as a one and done team in the NCAA tournament. I'm looking at Richmond at possibly winning a first round game and then maybe winning a second round game and or at least scaring the living shit out of someone in that case here. Their only losses to Maryland, Cornell, and Duke. They boast wins over Virginia and Georgetown. They had a sliver of a hope with their RPI of maybe getting into the NCAA tournament without winning this game, but who the hell wants to do that? They win the game. They booked their ticket. Defensively, I can't say enough about them. They don't attack you. They're not scary. They don't come out and press. They stay home. They win matchups more often than not. When they need to play help defense, as it's called upon them, they do. It's not sexy by any means, but it is effective team defense. And this is a scary team. Nobody wants to draw Richmond in the NCAA tournament. They're going to potentially do some damage here. The next game that we are going to talk about here is going to be the America East Finals, Albany against Bryant. They jump out, Albany does, to a 6-0 halftime lead en route to taking Bryant down 12-7. Now, things got a little bit dicey over the third quarter as Bryant tried to claw back. We saw that in almost every game. Bryant got to within a goal, 6-5, but it was Silas Richmond started a 4-goal Albany run. He scored 2 goals over that stretch. He scored the first goal and the third goal over that run, and then Albany never looked back. Richmond goes for 3 goals and a dish on the day. Teammate Ryan Doherty paced everyone with 3 goals and 2 helpers. Brady Smith in cage for the Danes. He stopped 13 shots, only allowed 7 goals, so he had a great day. Albany needed every one of those saves because the Bryant faceoff guy, J.J. Murphy, he won 16 of 22 draws here. Now, I don't think Albany is going to really scare anyone in the NCAA tournament. I think they're going to be one of the first-round losses. They're going to pick up one of the first-round losses to somebody, but hey, credit to the Danes here. They go 9-8. They struggled at times this season, but when they got to conference play, they handled their business. They win their tournament. Boom. They're now in the NCAA tournament. It just feels like Albany has a way of getting themselves, into the America East Finals, and they're always a threat for winning that conference tournament. I just choked on my beer. We'll keep that in, so you can all see that here. All right, Villanova, Georgetown, not an exciting game by any means here. Georgetown used the third quarter to separate from Nova. They never looked back. They win 16-8. I believe this was something like the Hoyas' 8th consecutive Big East title, something to that effect. The Hoyas lack a signature win. They definitely needed this victory to make the tournament. They had losses to Hopkins, Notre Dame, Richmond, and Denver, and that Denver loss really hurt them. But even with that, they managed to win the games they were supposed to win, and now sitting at 11-4 and a tournament team. But I don't think they would have gotten an at-large. This would have dragged their RPI even worse. And let's just see for shits and giggles what their RPI was. Yeah, 15th, and this would have dragged them even worse than that. So definitely needed to win to get in. Aiden Carroll, he was an absolute freak on the day. 8 goals and 2 assists off 14 shots and a caused turnover. He did have 3 turnovers, but who gives a shit when you score 8 goals and 2 helpers? That's a hell of a day. Anderson Moore played well in cage, 12 saves to 8 goals against. Ross Prince wins 17-23 faceoffs. If this is the Georgetown team that we see in the NCAA tournament, look out. Ross Prince, very good at times and has struggled at others. I think he battled injuries a little bit. Anderson Moore has not been the picture of absolute health in cage, albeit he's been Georgetown's goalie for what seems like a decade now also. So a veteran that once he is comfortable, you're in trouble. So if they can put it together offensively and defensively like they did against a pretty good Villanova team, then they're going to be a dangerous team in the NCAA tournament as well. And then the weird one, the MAC championship, Sacred Heart. This was supposed to be their year. They've played well all season, only to fall short and lose to Siena in the MAC final. Now, let's be honest. The MAC is whack in terms of their chances of getting past the first round and into the second, but Siena and Sacred Heart, they've handled their business, even if the business they were handling was generally small-time level business. They won the games they had to win, though. 5-goal effort out of Pratt Reynolds, 5-assist day for Ryan McCarthy. That's not too bad. Goaltender Andrew Arcuri made 15 stops for Siena, and now they're a tournament team. At 11-4. They weren't even on my radar this season because their schedule was so bad. If I come in here and I look at their strength of schedule, they're 24th in RPI, which isn't too bad. Their strength of schedule is 59th, which is why they're not on my radar. A lot of people would say, hey, why do you shit on certain teams? Well, it's just like, listen, I'm not getting excited over seeing teams towards the bottom play, especially when you're the team that's winning, 11-4 games or 11-15 games because you're playing against quite a few that are down. Sorry, I'm really shitting on Siena. I shouldn't be. They are now an NCAA tournament team, so credit to them. That's awesome. Another team that is a tournament team is Robert Morris. They beat Detroit Mercy pretty badly here. What was it? 11-3 at the half. And once again, in the third quarter, you see that team, the team that's down, that's fighting for their life, battle back as Detroit Mercy outscored Robert Morris 4-1 over the third before then getting waxed in the fourth 5-1. So Robert Morris also punches their ticket. Now, throughout the day today, we still have the Patriot League Championship to get decided, and we also have the ASUN Championship. Ivy League teams and I only say these games are deciding anything because these will decide the 2 of the final 3 automatic qualifiers. The difference being Duke and Syracuse, no automatic qualifier on the line, but they're both in. Cornell and Princeton, automatic qualifier on the line, but they're also both in. So those are the games that we have to watch today. I like Utah in this one. In Boston, Colgate, man, it's a coin flip. I'm really rooting for Colgate, though I want the New York team to get in. Now, as we look at the RPI, here is where I'm deciding, teams are in or not. Now, so because Richmond won their conference final, they're out. Because Ohio State won theirs, they're out. So we have 8 spots that are going to eat the at-large bids. And the reason I've been saying they've already been decided is because Maryland's eaten one. One of these 2 teams is eating one. So now we're up to 2. The winner of this game gets the automatic qualifier. The other is going to eat one of the at-larges. Penn State is definitely in. Duke is definitely in. Syracuse is definitely in. Richmond isn't at play, so Carolina is the 6th. Notre Dame is the 7th. And if I counted that right, that gives us one more at-large bid that they end up getting to dole out, and I believe that at-large bid is going to end up going to Harvard. I don't think Army's going to win it. Harvard has a better strength of schedule, so I do think that oh man, these records aren't the 1 versus 5 here. He's got his RPI screwed up. Anyway, yeah, I think Harvard's going to get, so it really does come down to the bubble teams end up being Harvard and Army in this case here. So I think that, and once again, the games today and how they go down will probably play into that. For instance, a Syracuse win, who Harvard boasts a win over Syracuse, that's going to go a long way to improve their RPI a little bit more and continue to bump them over Army. And the committee in some years has pretty much just appeared to use RPI, or at least the way the other measures fell into place. It appeared that it at least did go by the RPI by chance. And then sometimes they'll factor your record a little bit more and head to head and things like that. So nobody fully knows what they're going to do, but I'm guessing Harvard punches that final at large bid. And I don't think what happens today really plays all that much, because Army's strength of schedule is abysmal here. And Harvard, as Syracuse plays another top team today, just that game alone is going to bump Harvard's. As Princeton plays another top team today in Cornell, that also is going to bump Harvard's RPI. So I think Harvard's sitting here where their RPI might stay exactly the same today, no matter what happens, but it could even go up just a smidge depending on how that works out. So, all right, that's it. I have to get this up and uploaded for everybody so you guys can watch it. And then I'm going to watch the Syracuse game and the other conference championship games that are going on today. So I will do a preview show for sure this week. I'm going to try to get that out by Tuesday. At worst, it might come out Wednesday. And I think the play-in games will probably be Tuesday. So either way, that'll be cool. So come back and I'll do the whole preview show Wednesday, where I'll pick every winner for everything. I'll do my whole bracket and all that shit. But that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Go to LaxFactor.com. Get yourself a t-shirt. Support the channel. And Hoost is out.
The LaxFactor Podcast.